Welcome to Elevating Your Life, where each episode is dedicated to sharing valuable information, useful techniques, and empowering inspiration so that you can experience personal and physical abundance. Success and happiness are within your reach. I am your go-to gal who will help you find your happiness triggers and a true elevated life. I am your host, Paula Vail. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So happy to have you with us today. I have just a fantastic guest to share with you. We have with us Peter Cutler, and he is a Zen monk, artist, healer, and spiritual teacher. He actually resides in my favorite place, Sedona, Arizona. First off, Peter, I want to say welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Paula. It's wonderful to be here with you.
So honored to have you with us. I would love to have you share a bit more of what you do there in Sedona and a little bit more about your background.
Okay. I've been I'm a Zen monk now. I'm a monk. I wasn't always a monk, but it just seemed life kind of, as we talked about before, life sort of brings you what you need. And often it's not what you expect at all. And many times you might resist it, as I did when I came to Sedona. It's sometimes you resist what you need, but life is reality. Life is reality, and our thoughts are not reality. What we think is reality are just thoughts. And that's very important to know. Our suffering comes because we believe our thoughts are real, and that conflicts with reality, which is beyond thought. Reality is completely beyond thought. You can't capture reality in a thought. That's impossible. It's just too much. There's always more. So one way to think about it is whatever you think about life, about yourself, about, reality, there's always so much more. A thought is a very limited thing. So whatever you think, we can get our thoughts and they're very confining and small, but we don't think that. That seems to be the world. The world is as I think it is. The world, my perceptions are the reality, but our perceptions really come from our thoughts. What we think is real is what we perceive as reality, not actual reality. Actual reality is boundless, completely free of all thoughts. And what we awaken to is this freedom from belief in our thoughts. Simple as that. We just no longer believe our thoughts because we understand what our thoughts are. All of our thoughts are simply thoughts. They're not reality itself. Reality cannot be confined into a thought. And this is very hard for people to accept because we're attached to certain thoughts, our sacred cows. Well, this I know is true. This thought I know is true. I've had this thought all my life and I know it's true. And some of these beliefs are unconscious, right? So we don't even know why we believe something so much. They're unconscious belief, but actually thoughts are simply thoughts. And when we open up into reality, there's, you could say it's being comfortable with paradox and ambiguity. Because since everything is more, we cannot confine reality into a thought. And when we don't do that, a lot of people are afraid. Well, then there's just chaos, right? If I can't manage the world in my thoughts, then everything just falls apart. We feel like that. This is the fear that keeps us from opening to reality, to actual reality. But instead, what happens is we feel this enormous freedom and enormous relief when we let go of our thoughts. And we understand that life, that reality is taking care of itself. It doesn't need us to control it and manipulate it. It's taking care of itself perfectly, always. So we feel this enormous relief, like as if this 1,000-pound weight had been taken off our back. And now we can finally stand up and breathe. It's wonderful.
So is reality something for us to observe and learn from.
Yeah, always.
So
Always.
yes.
Continuously learning from it. But never saying, in the beginning, when we first start waking up, in Zen we call this kensho, the first glimpse of reality, the first glimpse of this great freedom, the first glimpse of our true nature, you know, and this profound peace and uncaused happiness and unconditional love for all existence. This experience, when we first feel that, this kensho, this first glimpse of it, is freedom from thought. But because our habit is to create a thought about it, and a strong desire to create a thought, we get insights into it and go, I've got it, eureka, I've got it, this is it. And then we make a thought out of it, and that's no longer it. It's no longer it. So now we've limited this great unlimited experience into a limited experience, which is a thought. And we go back that way. So we do that for a while. That's why Kensho doesn't last. It's not complete openness. We're not enlightened. We're not like, we don't stay awake because our thoughts, we keep making these brilliant insights and sometimes we become teachers with these brilliant insights that we want to share, and we're locked into this and we're not free anymore. We're not open to actual reality, which cannot be confined to a thought. It's reality itself. It cannot be confined in a thought. And yet we're learning from it constantly, because when we're no longer attached to these thoughts, we're open to everything teaching us. In every single moment, we're learning nonstop. So it's not like once we wake up, that's the end. We have our PhD and we go on and we never have to, study anything more. Instead, it's like we've started in kindergarten again. A different kind of kindergarten, and we're learning nonstop. We're just absorbing like a sponge constantly, because we're not resisting life. We know that everything in life is teaching us. Every moment is teaching us. Every breath is teaching us, and it's always new, and there's always more. So we're open to that wonderful experience, and we don't suffer anymore. Because suffering, we find, especially if we work with many people that are suffering, but even just from our own past, even from our own life before we woke up and became free of thought, free of attachment to thought, free of belief in thought as reality, that was causing our suffering. That belief in a thought was causing our suffering. And without that belief, there isn't any suffering. Yeah. I mean, one of the main things that we wake up from, and the highest, strongest belief that we have, the most conditioned belief we have, is the belief that I am a separate person, that I am separate from all the universe, all existence, that I am a separate being. There's the universe and there's me, and I'm in the universe, but I'm separate from the universe. And that's not true. You cannot, in reality, you cannot find anything separate from anything else. I love that. But it's an experience. You cannot really, you can think that, but you can't really comprehend that with a thought. It's too vast. Nothing is separate from anything else. That's a direct experience. When you have that direct experience, it's very powerful. And you no longer go back to seeing the world through this individual separate self. You don't need that anymore. You can use it, of course, in society. You said Peter Cutler, this name. Yeah, I can play with all that, play with thoughts, play with these roles, play with separation, play with duality, play with non-duality, play with all these things, but it's playing with it. It's like I was listening to Noam Chomsky, who's a brilliant man, just a very, very brilliant man, a professor of linguistics at MIT. And I realized his brilliance comes because he's not attached to his own thoughts. You may think he has a lot of thoughts and things, but he's actually not attached to them. He's very free to play with these thoughts. This is called critical thinking. We don't hold on and grasp to our thoughts. We can accept the opposite of a thought that we have, like one thought and now the opposite thought that directly contradicts. And we can hold both of those and play with both of those. And then sort of say, well, this one maybe seems a little more true than that one, so I'll kind of go with that a little bit more than that. But that's still there as an option as well. And if another one comes that's better than this, then I'll say, oh, that's pretty good too. Okay, let's go with that. So we're very free. He's in his 90s now, and he's still free to learn new things and open to new things. His mind is not calcified the way most people's are, you know, because when we believe in our thoughts over and over and over again, it becomes calcified. It's like a hamster in a wheel. We just, you know, we only take in evidence that fits our previous belief in a thought, and we just keep rolling around like that. We don't get anywhere. We don't learn anything new. We think we're learning, but all we're learning is something that stays in that hamster wheel. Anything that doesn't fit in the hamster wheel, we're just not going to go with that. You know, it's just, we're blind to it. We can't even see it. We can't accept it.
So would you say freedom is being open to all those other thoughts? I'm thinking of like a food buffet. And these are thoughts. Yeah. What am I going to take in? What am I going to allow? But yet I'm going to be free to look at all these other thoughts.
Sure.
Is that what we do?
Of course. Yeah. Because some people say, well, if you don't believe your thoughts, then how do you function in the world? If you don't believe your thoughts, you know, what do you do? Which is a good question, but you function much better. You function much better because you're not attached to those thoughts. Just like the buffet, that's a good example. You know, you take a little bit, but you don't just eat one of the things. Oh, I really like this. I'm going to ignore everything else and I'm only going to eat this. You might get sick by eating that one thing, only that one thing, you know, especially if it wasn't good for you. But you've got all these different things. So you eat a little bit of that and your body says, yeah, it doesn't work so well. And this other, oh, that works pretty well. And how about this one? Well, that works good. And you haven't tried this one yet. So you try that and you go, oh, that's even better. You know, it tastes good and my body really likes it. So you've learned that, but you don't get attached to that because something else may come along that's even better than that. You're open to it, you know, and then you can treat yourself with something that isn't so good for you, but just once in a while, because you remember that, you know, I'm going to just take a little bit of it because last time, you know, it made my stomach upset, you know? So yes, you're free to be able to, it's more like you're playing with these thoughts too. If you're attached to them, it's rigid and you're stuck, right? But if you're just playing with them, if you realize that thoughts are just thoughts, you can play with them when you realize they're thoughts. When you think that they're reality, when you think that they're truth, then you get calcified. Then your mind gets calcified. Then all the other thoughts that don't agree with that thought, you can't learn from them.
You're stuck. Yes.
Yeah, you're stuck.
You can't learn from those other new thoughts. This is so fantastic.
And you see this in life, right? You see this in people, like different political people, Democrats and Republicans can't speak to each other. They literally cannot communicate with each other. So the whole government has become dysfunctional. It can't really function because of this, because people are attached to their thoughts and attached to their beliefs. Yes. You know, it happens with, you know, liberals and conservatives, even in families, they can't communicate anymore and they hate each other because they're both attached to their thoughts. They can't open up.
Can't be free.
And you can't communicate with people like that. You know, you see that if someone's very attached to their thought, like people that believe conspiracy theories and things, if they're not helping them and they're suffering and they're miserable because they believe these things, you can't communicate with them. They won't allow you to communicate. You know, if you have say like, well, maybe that's not true, then you're the enemy. Then you're like, or sheeple. Then you're like someone that's brainwashed by the mainstream media or something if you don't believe what they believe, and communication becomes impossible. Like we said before, racism cannot stand up to reality. If someone's a racist, for generations, they hate a white person, hates black people. You know, they have all these thoughts and they're taught to hate them. And then one day, you know, they come together and they meet a black person and they spend enough time with them. They say, this is actually a person and actually a pretty nice person. And actually, you know, and the racism can't hold up to that. It cannot hold up to reality. But our calcified thoughts, we can go for generations being racist without ever actually meeting the person that we think is so horrible, you know?
So letting go of that and freeing ourselves is really huge.
Yeah,
Peter.
huge.
That's exciting to think about. I love it. My gosh. And, you know, with the, you know, on the topic of suffering, we go through different things. At this moment, we're going through the pandemic. What are what would you like to share about, what are some of our ways out of suffering when we just have a hard time seeing beyond that?
Well, suffering comes entirely from belief in our thoughts. For healing people for 10 years, doing healings with people, amazing things, which I never understood how it was happening, really. It just kept happening. But really, as I look at it, a great deal of it was helping people be free of thoughts. Some of them were unconscious thoughts that they believed in that were creating suffering, even physical illness in them. And when they let go of those thoughts, the healing naturally started happening. Their body naturally started physically healing, emotionally, psychologically, physically, and spiritually. All this healing happened because they let go of these thoughts that were creating suffering in them. Yeah. They let go of their belief in them. That's it's hard to say just how powerful this is. One of the ways that we do it is through love, right? Because the belief in thoughts makes us resistant to reality. We don't want to accept what's coming because it's a threat to our belief in this thought. Reality is always going to be a threat to our belief in a thought. Our belief in reality is going to be threatened by actual reality all the time, because a thought can never encompass the whole thing, and reality is the whole thing. And so it's always going to show us there's more. Whatever you think, there's more. It's always going to show us that. But when we approach it with love, that's an openness. That's not resistance. Love is saying, yeah, okay, good, right? When we love, we don't resist anything. We're just feeling like, I like this. This is good. Yes. We're wide open, right? We're wide open. And so we learn from love to be open, because being open feels good. Yes. It feels much better than being closed. Resisting and being closed, that ends up as fear. That ends up as anger. That ends up as depression. No, I don't want to. I'm like controlled in, and very much an identity with a separate self, which is not only separate from the rest of the world, but resisting the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is dangerous to this. It's dangerous to this belief. Yes. Because if we open up through love, we don't feel separate anymore, right? In love, we're open. We can see reality through love. Yes. So love is this lack of resistance, this lack of separation, this oneness. And through that, we don't have to hold on to our thoughts, because love is its own reality. We don't need to understand what love is. If we love, we don't have to say, why do I love? Is this right? We don't have to analyze it. We just feel it. Mm-hmm. We can't really analyze it. It's bigger than our thoughts are. It's much bigger than our thoughts. We can't contain love in a thought, because love is a real experience. It's very real. It's not actually an emotion at all. It's an openness to reality. Yes. So this is why when we wake up, we feel this great unconditional love, because this is real. It's not an emotion. An uncaused happiness, it's not actually an emotion. It doesn't come from a thought. It's uncaused. It's just here. We have no explanation for why we're always happy. We just are. Mm-hmm. Right? And believing in our thoughts, it limits all that, so we can't experience it anymore. We can't experience our true nature, but when we do, love is like, that's our true nature. So when we love, we're actually walking into our true nature. We're actually opening to our true nature, and through our thoughts, we think, oh, it's because of you. You are love. And if you go away, then I don't have love anymore. So our thoughts convince us that, and then we're in a relationship, and the bliss of love, which is just love. We're not thinking about it at all. It's just like, oh, this is wonderful. And the openness with that person triggers that, right? So because that person seems to love us, we can let go of our fear, let go of our sense of separation, and just sort of embrace the beingness that we are. Yes. But because we put it on another person, if we're not feeling love, we think they did something. They took away love. They did this. We don't realize, no, we are that love. Yes. It has nothing to do with the other person. We're just experiencing our true nature. Yes. Which is love itself. We
experience that, Peter. Aren't we really also opening up such a door of so much more positive and more love that's going to come to us?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because love is a fundamental reality. It's not emotion. It's a fundamental reality of life. It's opening to reality, because love is not a contained thing, right? When we feel love, if we said like, where's the boundaries to my love? We can't really find it if we're really honest, you know? When we fall in love, that first opening to love, it's not just the other person. We look around and we kind of love everybody, don't we? We love the trees and the birds and the spring and the sun, and everything is love, right? Our neighbor that we hated, suddenly we're thinking, he's not so bad, you know? There's something like kind of nice. Maybe he's just a little bit confused about something, but really, basically, I love him, you know? It's like, it keeps expanding and expanding, and it doesn't have any limits to its expansion, you know? And there's nothing we have to do about that, right? Because there's nothing that we can do for love. We can't control it. You know, we can't say, well, this person loves me, I should love them, but we don't feel love. There's nothing we can do about it. We really can't, you know?
Yes.
And if we do love and we shouldn't love somebody, well, there's nothing we can do about that either.
Yes.
Well, there's nobody we shouldn't love. I mean, we basically, the truth of life, the awakening, is unconditional love for all existence. Nothing is outside of that love. That's the truth of our true nature. It's amazing how few people, you know, experience this. But when we're trapped in our thoughts, we have thoughts about it, right? If I'm in love with somebody, maybe I should have them sign a prenuptial agreement before we do this and that. It's like a business arrangement, right? It doesn't have anything to do with love, right?
Yes.
Love is just love.
Yes.
Love is just love. And there's nothing that we need to do about it. This is freedom from thought. Love is freedom from thought. We don't need thoughts for love. Thoughts only interfere with it. Thoughts are the prenuptial agreement. Thoughts are the, you know, like, did you squeeze the toothpaste from the bottom or the top, or these different arguments and things we get in. Those are all thoughts. You know, are you being fair to me? Am I getting a good deal out of this situation? None of that has anything to do with love. Love is just love.
Yes.
And all love does is love.
Yes.
There's no other requirement for love but to love. It loves, and that's it. It's very, very simple. And there's nothing that we can do about it. But our thoughts do get in the way. So the COVID-19 thing and all the stuff that's going on in the pandemic, the suffering that people go through, and it's immense, we can see it all over the place, is people's attachments to thoughts. So some people are in great fear about this. Oh my God, I could die. I don't want to die. I'm not supposed to die. You know, I could get sick. People get sick. And people die. That's reality. That's the truth of reality. And we don't want to believe that about ourselves. And instead of just taking the practical advice, yes, there is a virus. Yes, this stuff is going on. Yes, it's a very strong virus. I had it myself. It's a very powerful virus. And you get very sick when you have it. Some people don't, but other people get very sick from it.
Yes.
And yes, that's true. And other people, because of their thoughts, they say, no one's going to tell me what to do. You know, no one's going to boss me around. I'm going to go and you know, not wear masks and go and avoid social distancing and, you know, just to prove that no one's going to boss me around, the tyranny of the government. That's attachment to thoughts.
Yes.
That's an attachment to thought, and it endangers people. The truth is, you can use thoughts. Is it practical to wash your hands? Seems practical to me. Why not do it? You know, yeah, it's a good, I wash my hands more and better than I've ever done before. You know, I didn't even understand why you should do this, you know.
And
So,
I've always been a hand washer with all my years in a restaurant.
Yeah. And I learned from how to wash your hands the way, you know, like doctors do it. I never knew that. Now I learned that. There's I never knew how to do that before. So there's a lot of things you can learn from this.
You can learn.
But
Peter, we have about 3 minutes left in the show.
Okay.
What last words do you want to share with everyone?
I think the last thing, because we're in this pandemic now, but other crises will come too as well, 9/11, all these different things happen, this is an incredible opportunity for us to wake up. Because we're going through confusion and suffering and we don't know what to do, it's an opportunity to step out of our comfort zone, which is the life through our thoughts that we believe is reality, and say, maybe not. Maybe there's more here than all the things I thought. Maybe there's more about my organized life and what I've been doing. Maybe there's more than that in the world. And maybe I'm more than that. So it's an opportunity to open to this and expand our consciousness by not holding on to our attachment to what we think is reality, what we think we are, but letting go to something more and allowing something more, allowing us to realize something more. Not by really doing anything, just allowing that there's much more than we could ever think in the world, much more than we could ever think. And just simply doing that feels good. So that's our direct experience. It feels good to allow more. It feels good not to resist life, to say, oh, this too, this too. Oh, I have a feeling that's uncomfortable. Well, what is it? I allow this too. Let me learn from it, right? And so these crises that happen allow us to do this. As I think of them, they're like holy moments. They're holy moments. The moment that we're in now is like walking into an ashram or a temple or a church. It's a holy moment if we open to it. And for each of us, we'll find out and learn, why is it? Why is this a good thing? Why is this a great opportunity? I don't know. Let's find out, right? Let's not use our previous thoughts and our ideas about what it is. Let's let them go and let life show us what it is. Let this pandemic show us what it is. Many beautiful things are happening in the world because of this pandemic and how we're treating it. Yes, a lot of suffering is going on, but there are also wonderful things happening. And if we open ourselves to it, we can see, how are these wonderful things happening for me and in me that I'm not aware of? You know, I think that's the best way to deal with this. But it's not just this one, this pandemic, but whatever comes in our life, whatever disappointment or crisis, our house burns down, we lose our job, we become homeless. Why is this a good thing? Instead of automatically saying, no, it's bad, 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 bad. That's not supposed to happen. Why is this an opportunity for me? A liberation for me? You know, what's really going on here?
Yes.
And not grasping at conspiracy theories, but saying like, what's really going on here? Nobody knows. Nobody knows, but I can learn. In every moment, I can learn. In every moment, I can expand and accept more and more. And this is how we wake up. This is why this is a holy moment, because it allows us to expand. Many people are contracting even more than before, right? That happens too, right? And what we do as teachers is we try and help them open up, to relieve themselves of the suffering that their mind is causing and that contraction is causing, and open up to the possibilities, the opportunities that are always available in reality, because it's unlimited. And we are also unlimited. But we have to experience that. The more we open up, the more we see our unlimited nature. Oh, more.
Oh, Peter, you are so awesome. Thank you so much. I hate to say goodbye. I could go on for hours. I think we should do another show down the road. You have so much.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah.
We will do it. Gosh. Thank you so much, everyone. Love, hugs, and blessings. Peter, love, hugs, and blessings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paula.
Bye.